My name is Reed Cotton, and I promise I'll stay under the 3-minute time limit. And I want to clarify something, that's all. Earlier in the evening, someone made the comment that English and ASL are the same language. They are not. So I just want to clarify that there are two separate languages we're talking about. And my second point is, people in New Hampshire are allowed to choose whatever they want to do. I have a Ford, I love my Ford. Okay, we got a few Chevy drivers here, we got a few, okay? People in New Hampshire can choose. Deaf people should be able to pick what agency they want to get services. And people have the right to like or dislike the agencies that provide services. I think there are 3 service language providers. Al Gilbert is here from an agency called Words, and he's been in existence providing language services longer than I've been alive, I think. Am I right, Ral? Al Gilbert is here.
1976.
1976, he started providing language services. Okay, so that's one agency. So I want to say that there are 3 referral agencies in the state of New Hampshire. And some are great, and some might need work, and I totally agree on that. So, you know, whatever. My car works great, yours doesn't work so great. I mean, everybody does what they do. And I think people have a right to a choice. You know, there may be one that many deaf people love NDHHS, but not every deaf person will want to work with NDHHS. So we should have an option. And I don't think that the choices should be limited so that people have no choice. Thank you. That's all I need to say.
Hi, my name is Jotham, and people call me Jock. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about WALK and the organization, and, you know, I've been listening to people, you know, with your comments and stories. And really, it's interesting. What the thing is the whole point is we need more access to education and communication. And really, those are the big issues. And, you know, many people, you know, had talked about how, you know, there are 70 children who are born with a hearing loss. I mean, we really need to think about communication and education. We need the children, as they're young, being exposed to deaf individuals.
A young man recently went to Gallaudet University who was deaf, and he had never seen signs before. He was raised in an oral method, and it wasn't until he was over 20 years old that he went and finally was around people who were using ASL. And he has a lot of regrets about the fact that he didn't have access to that when he was growing up, and wished that his parents had had more of a choice. When I was born, my mom had no idea what to do with a deaf child, and the doctor said, give him a surgery and let him have a cochlear implant. And my mother said no. I was born in 1981. So, I mean, I can say this in many ways, but we need early intervention services. I grew up and I went to a mainstream school, and I learned sign language, which gave me access to a much wider world. And in my life today, I'm a college graduate, I'm successful, I've accomplished many things, but because of the options I had. In terms of the mental health issue, that's a huge issue all over the United States in terms of services for deaf people. And if we look at the inequality and lack of opportunity for deaf people, it's very, very small. I had a great friend a couple of years ago who died. Before he died, he told me that he needed help. He said, I think I'm depressed, I need counseling. And I said to him, you know, the Deaf Service Center is in Nashua, the Greater Nashua Mental Health Center. And he didn't know about it. And I said to him, I'm willing to go with you, I'm willing to take you there to the therapist's office, because clearly he needed help. But he had no idea the services existed. And the point of my story is that deaf people are unaware even of the few resources we have and how to access them. The other thing I want to say is thank you to everybody who's here, and to all of the people from Health and Human Services, people from who have come to listen to us. I want to say, LSS is interested also in improving their services and need feedback from our community. So I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody for giving me your ear.
My name is Sheila Coons. I wish I could bring my daughter here so that I could share what she experiences having a deaf mother. Life is tough for her, and she's a deaf child in a mainstream program. She's a hearing child with deaf parents, and she gets asked by her school
to work with other deaf children so that the teachers are actually depending on her and asking her to take on a role that they should be doing. I think that the schools need to be educated, because what happens in New Hampshire is we see deaf children who are not well educated here and they leave the state of New Hampshire. We want to keep the deaf children we have in New Hampshire. We don't want them to go to California or Texas or Vermont where they find deaf schools that are better for them. Why can't we improve the system that we have to educate deaf children in New Hampshire so they can stay and live in New Hampshire for the rest of their lives without leaving?
Hi, I'm Kathy Minch. I didn't introduce myself the first time I stood up here. And talking about mice, Wendy was talking about it earlier, the early intervention program, referring back to that. They don't have any deaf staff. I do teach in the Family Sign Language program, and I've done that for 9 years. And what I've seen during those 9 years is that the parents are realizing that they've never really seen deaf adults, and that their children are not seeing deaf adults. And they'll be asking questions to me, to the parents, that sometimes the parents can't answer.
So they've had no contact with any deaf adults. They don't know what's possible for their children. They're surprised at who I am and the way that I'm a successful professional. I'm going to let the interpreter catch up. So because they don't have any deaf staff, to me, my observation is that these parents of deaf children really don't have any idea of what the options are and what the continuum of choices are for their children. So the MICE Early Intervention Program needs to have deaf staff to represent that position, to be a liaison, and to be able to provide more of a continuum, options, and choices. Parents who have a deaf child have a lot of medical consultation about the medical issue of deafness, but they are not often given options or recommendations that they might have a deaf adult come into their home and teach sign language to the family. We used to have 10 weeks of sign language instruction for parents in the Family Sign Language Program, and then because of funding cuts, we only have 8 weeks of sign language instruction. It's not enough support for these parents. The parents need help, the parents need feedback, they need resources, they need information about how to negotiate, about whether or not the child is going to go to a local public school or whether they're going to go to a deaf school. And when parents actually leave New Hampshire and visit other states, they become aware of what the services are. But we need in New Hampshire early intervention for young children who are deaf and hard of hearing, and some kind of a day program, so that these young children can identify with somebody else who's like them, rather than being isolated and the one person in their whole school district. So I encourage parents all the time to come to events, to come to the deaf community, but I think parents are often very uncomfortable and anxious because they don't know sign language and they think they'll be unwelcome. But the deaf community is so welcoming to meet parents who have deaf children. We also have a group of deaf parents who are parents of children who aren't deaf, and they come together as a support group on a monthly basis. Why can't we have the funding for parents who are not deaf, who have deaf children, to come together and learn and be supported with each other? It'll be a way for them to learn sign language. Often the children are far ahead of their parents in their knowledge of sign language, and the parents need support from each other. What is it? There's an organization called Hands and Voices, which was in met and was active in New Hampshire, but the group is no longer meeting, and I don't know why, and I wonder if that's because of support or funding. So I have some concerns for parents who have deaf children and need the support. Thank you.
And not say anything tonight. My name is Rael Gilbert. I own Words Translation and Interpreting Service. We've been in business since 1976, and we have provided ASL interpreters when needed only to those clients for whom we do all their languages. Most of our work is with hearing people and with all the foreign languages. I'm hard of hearing myself. My hearing aids are being fixed, so I had a problem tonight. I couldn't hear earlier. I'm familiar with the deaf community. My daughter has been signing since grammar school, since the first grade. And I've had nothing but a lot of deaf people at my home over the years. My daughter is a sign language teacher who has a master's degree from Gallaudet in Washington. I don't sign because I have a diplopia, which means that I see two of everything. So you can imagine seeing 10 fingers instead of 5. I'm here to tell you that I fully support Northeast Deaf and Hard of Hearing in what they've been doing. I've worked with them over the years. Sue does a great job. She has a good staff, and I've called on them from time to time when we needed interpreters. So I hear a lot of discussion this evening on various things, and frankly, I didn't know about the meeting until a few hours ago, so I decided to come. And I don't know what you're going to accomplish tonight, because it seems to me you've talked about 100 different things, all of which, frankly, I think are very important to the deaf community. But I'm here to support you. And thank you very much for giving me a moment to speak to all of you.